The PS2 in 2010. Is this 10-year-old console still worth it? Initially released March 4th of 2000, this is now a 10-year-old console, but the amount of support and the price cuts that it's received over the years is actually pretty good. Now Sony announced that they released a price cut to the PS2 and it's now only $100 for a brand new Slim unit. And considering that the unit is brand new and that the library of games is very plentiful, plus you can also play all your DVDs and CDs on this, it's actually a pretty good buy. Now of course the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the Nintendo Wii, which are the 7th generation of consoles, have been released for a couple of years now. And while these are amazing consoles, the performance on them is just insane. The PS2 is still a pretty capable console considering the hardware. Now of course this has received updates and of course glossy plastic. Of course it gets scratched very easily, but the PS2 Slim is definitely the better version of the PS2. You don't have to worry about a network adapter anymore since it's built right into the console. Plus, the size of the console itself is extremely thin. Now of course there is an external DC input jack for power, since otherwise it wouldn't be this small. And you do get your typical AV connector that Sony has been using since the PS1 days. And another nice feature is that you get optical audio out, so you can play pretty much all your CDs with your hi-fi system. On the front side, you do have your memory card slots. That really hasn't changed. The controller ports are still here, and you do get 2 USB ports on the front. Sadly, they did remove FireWire, but USB is pretty capable nowadays. And you also get an infrared port. They might cut that in the future, or they might do something in order to make it even cheaper, but the infrared port does allow you to play DVDs using the built-in drive, of course, since this is essentially a DVD player that plays PlayStation games. And of course, that's part of why it makes it so popular. They even released this amazing DVD remote to use with the console, and you also do get the actual PlayStation buttons on it, which is very nice. And you don't have to buy a silly adapter that the Xbox has. It's built in directly into the console. Plus, the PS2 is far more reliable than the original ones. The Slim has been perfected to be essentially the perfect PS2. There aren't really that many issues with the Slim models. The only thing that I can think of going bad is the actual power supply, and that isn't internal. And of course, you can play all your favorite PS2 and PS1 games. Potentially, the actual mechanical motor and laser go bad over time. I mean, there's already so many units out nowadays. You could probably fix this in the future if you have to. And you can always just clean the laser, and as long as you don't really abuse the console, it should last for at least another 10 years. Now, why would you buy a 10-year-old console at this point? Well, considering the price drop, that is definitely a nice bonus, since you would be getting a brand new console with a warranty, and there's still a lot of new titles that are being released onto the system. Plus, if you did have a PS1, or you still do, you can play all of them on your PS2. Plus, we can't forget that the PS2 is designed to play PS2 games, and there's been so many good titles that have been released over the years, and the support on this is just pretty insane for how old the console is already. Now, we saw something similar with the PS1, but this of course does have online support as well. And you might be wondering, why wouldn't you just get something like a Wii or the new consoles? Now, the Wii does have the bonus of playing GameCube games, since Nintendo was kind enough to basically put a whole GameCube inside the Wii. The Wii is definitely a good purchase. Now, why wouldn't you get something like the PS3? The very early launch models of the PS3 can play PS2 games, but unfortunately that was kind of dropped, and the Slim can't play, well, of course it can't play PS3 games. The newer Slim models and the newer Fat models of the PS3 cannot play PS2 games, but they can still play PS1 games. Now, that was a pretty odd decision on Sony's part, but that is again another pretty enticing offer to get one of these with the price cut, since again it's a brand new console and you can play a very large library of games that have been released onto the PS2. Now, of course, the PS3 can play Blu-rays, but Blu-rays are still pretty expensive, and DVDs are definitely the easier option to get nowadays since everyone's going for Blu-ray. But at this time, you can also get DVDs on sale and play them on your PS2. There are, of course, other accessories, such as the iToy, but who really uses the iToy? And, of course, you can easily get memory cards nowadays since everyone's going for the PS3, but the memory cards are definitely nice to have since you can use them with other consoles and easily swap your data. The memory cards are definitely easier to move around. Now, the PS3 does have a hard drive. They all have hard drives except for the Nintendo Wii, but the Nintendo Wii can use SD cards. But the older consoles, of course, they use the memory cards, except for the original Xbox, since that also has a hard drive. But what's the advantage of the memory card? It is essentially it's a memory card. It's flash storage, so you can easily swap them out. And while a hard drive can store a lot of data, over time, maybe these PS3 hard drives will start to fail. So they might be inconvenient based on how small of a capacity they hold nowadays, but they are still pretty useful. Plus, upon seeing the PS3 controller, it essentially looks like a PS2 controller, but without the wire. Now, the R2 and L2 buttons are definitely much more of a switch instead of just a button, but the actual PS2 controller is still very nice to use, and while a wireless one would be nice, which is what the PS3 has, the PS2 one is still very comfortable to use, and of course with the wire you don't have to worry about recharging it. The only real issue you have at that point is the actual distance of the wire. If you have this hooked up to a CRT like I do, since the flat screen TVs are still pretty expensive, then you would probably sit closer anyways. So that isn't really that big of an issue. Is this 10-year-old hardware still worth it? I would say yes. There's definitely at least a couple more years of support, since I don't imagine Sony abandoning it so fast, considering it's one of their best consoles. Granted, this is only their second console, and the PS3 is their third one, but the PS2 has definitely been super successful, and I imagine over time it's still going to increase as developers will probably still port them out to the PS2, since the PS2 is definitely a very good selling console. Now, the only real issues that I can think of at the moment is that while it can connect to the internet, it cannot really do much of what the newer consoles can do, like the Nintendo Wii with the Wii Shop channel, where you can download apps and stream videos such as from YouTube or even Netflix, but you do have to have that proprietary disc at the moment. The PS2, while online support may be shut off in the future due to newer consoles, it is still definitely supported at the moment, and of course, while it can't play video from online, it still is a really nice offline media player, since of course it plays DVDs, plays CDs. You can't play Blu-rays on this, but at that point the PS3 will probably get cheap enough where you could easily grab one of those if you really want a Blu-ray player, or if you also want to play PS3 games. Now, the newer consoles are already a couple of years old at this point, but they are still brand new at the moment, and they will get far more support than what I think the PS2 will have. But the PS2 is still definitely going to be supported for a while. It can still play a lot of games, and at that point, once you're done with the PS2, or you want to try a newer console, then they'll probably be cheaper to get, just like how the PS2 is right now. So I would say, if you can find a good deal of a used one, or you can also just get the new one for $100, plus you get the warranty, then it's a good offer. There's nothing really else to say about this. Sony made the PS2 a very reliable machine, specifically the Slim one. The older one, while it doesn't overheat like the Xbox 360, can still have more problems than the Slim variant. So where will the PS2 be in roughly 10 years? Well, I'm assuming that at that point Sony will have at least the PS4, maybe even the PS5, if they even keep the name scheme. They'll probably have those released by then, and the services, the online services, will probably be removed. But at this point, it's still a decent console to use. Plus the amount of features you can do with it, such as the remote, the amount of games that are available. I imagine it's only going to get better over time, since people are going to want to continue to upgrade, and you can easily find a whole bunch of PS2 games for fractions of what they cost brand new. I don't see the PS2 going away anytime soon. It'll definitely be playable in the future, even when services are eventually discontinued. It's still an offline machine. That was its sole purpose. So, as long as you have the games, you have a nice controller, got a memory card, or if you just want to watch something, the PS2 is going to remain an excellent console, since services, online services, while they may be convenient, like what the Nintendo Wii has, this will always remain usable as it was the day you got it, minus some online support. But apart from that, it can still play the games no problem, and here's to another 10 years. Hopefully this video made you decide on what to get, if the PS3 or the Xbox 360 is a bit out of your price range. PS2 Slim is definitely a good console to go for, and hopefully this new YouTube thing will help you guys with making a decision. And I would definitely recommend the PS2. Hopefully you guys will get enjoyment out of one too. Thanks for watching.